I was going from hiding place to hiding place. I was wearing a cross and Mary on my neck. My skin was light and I was blunt, so I was trying to look like a Christian, but it didn't help me too much. I was coming to one house and the people there said, you could stay here, but in the daytime you have to be in the bushes because we're afraid that the Germans will come. And at night you could go to sleep in the barn. A few days later, 2 Jewish partisans came to this man for some food, and the man told them, there is in the bushes a girl, she doesn't look Jewish, but she is Jewish, and if she stays there any day, the Germans will come and shoot her. I see 2 men coming over to me, and I was scared. I didn't know who they are. One of them was very handsome, and he said to me, who are you? Looking at them, pale and torn clothes, I said, I'm the same as you. I knew that they're Jewish. So he took the cross and Mary off my neck, and he said, now you don't have to wear it. We have a partisan group, a Jewish partisan group. We have ammunition and we have guns, and you don't have to worry. We try to protect any Jew that we can. And this handsome man, who was the leader of the Jewish partisan group, took me with him. His name was Harry Shabas. Harry told me that there are more Jews. I thought that there is nobody left, just my mother, myself, my sister, and my cousin. I thought everybody's killed. And he said, we meet in the woods at night. The Germans don't go at night, so the Jews meet. If you want to come with us, you can come. I told Harry that I have a mother and sister, and he said, we'll try to help them too. Harry and the other partisans, Sal Kraviec, they were taking me to a hiding place where the partisans meet, in the woods someplace. On the way, we were ambushed by the AK and started shooting everybody, and I was running, and I went in a place like a ditch, like with stones, sharp stones, and my leg was all cut up there. It was terrible. I thought it's a bullet, but it wasn't a bullet. And Harry took me to somebody that he knew to do something with this open wound. The Polish man gave us alcohol. I poured on the open wound. It was terrible, painful, and he gave us a piece of rag, and I put it all around my ankle. And Harry says, now I cannot take you to the partisan place, but tell me, do you know somebody that we can take you to? So I said, yes, I know somebody. It's in Milkowice, Milkowska, Jadwiga, she'll help me. And he took me there. When I got to Milkowski, I asked Harry, where do you meet? And he says, in the Krinky woods. And when you feel better, I'll come for you. Mrs. Milkowska and her daughter Yaja took very good care of me. They gave me hot water to wash the wound. Mrs. Milkowska gave me something to put on, and every day she says, put on alcohol on it. She went to the woods and she said, I'm going to make something that this will help you. She gave me something and she said, put on the wound, it will get better. Sure enough, it got a little better. The pus was coming out, and every time the pus came out, I had to take off the sort of Band-Aid and put it in the sun, let it dry, and I put back the same thing. How I didn't get an infection, I don't know. It lasted a long, long time till it got better. I still have today a scar. I stayed with Milkowski till my leg was a little better and I could walk already. And then I went to a place where The partisans used to meet at night. It was called Brzezinka because there were birch trees there all over. And everybody knew if you wanted to meet, you go there. When I found the partisans, they told me, we have a mission. So I asked, what is the mission? They said that the other day, through Memoir, one of the partisans asked a Polish farmer for bread, and instead of giving him the bread, he came with an axe and wanted to kill him. So the partisan said, we have to punish this person because he wanted to kill the Jew. And if we let it go, this is what will happen. If you ask for a piece of bread, they'll kill you. Harry asked me if I know Russian, and I said yes. So he told me to write a sign, and I wrote in Russian, «За нехорошее отношение к одному из партизанов присуждено убить и сгореть». For a bad behavior to one of the partisans, the court decided that you have to be killed and burned your property. We put the sign on every telephone pole from one village to another as a warning to the Polish people that if you kill a Jew, if you do the same thing this man did, you'll be killed too. One day the partisans decided that now is the time to take revenge on this man as a lesson to other people. We waited till nightfall. It was 6 partisans on this mission. I went with them. This was my first mission. And Harry told me as soon as we came closer to the house in the village, he told me to sit in the bushes, small bushes. He said, don't get up until I call you. I was sitting there. I saw the partisan going over to the house and opening the door. But the man knew that something is going to happen to him. He had a different exit and he escaped. I saw him in his underwear running. He ran, but nobody would let him in because they were afraid that if the partisan can do it to this man, they can do to them too. I saw the partisans going to the barn and they put fire on. And I heard all of a sudden the screams of the different animals. Everything was burning. The cows and the pigs, everything inside the barn. And boom, boom. And the fire makes such noise. It was just terrible, a terrible scene. I was sitting like this in the bush there, and I said, oh my God. It lit up the whole village. And later on they said, who knows, a whole battalion of people was there to do it. And I didn't know what's going on with me. I was so scared. When Harry called me, I didn't come. I didn't come out. I was just sitting in the bushes. I heard him, but I couldn't move. So he came over and he said to me, why didn't you move? I said, I don't know. But the screaming of the animals, all the fire, it dismayed me that I couldn't move, that I was in a shock. I still hear it today. But he came and took me by my hand and we walked out of there. After this mission, the Polish people knew that if you don't give the partisans any food when they ask, it will happen the same thing to them. And from this day on, it was easier to get food. Harry took me where my mother and sister was hiding, and he told the Polish people there that they have to keep me here and take care of me. He also told me if I need something, a place to hide or other thing, I know where the partisans are and I should come and find them. Harry's group did many more missions, but I wasn't with them. They wanted to show the Polish people that if you kill a Jew or take him to the Nazis, you'll suffer the consequences. So this helped us survive the war. When I first came with the partisans, Harry said to me, "Do you know some songs? Can you sing something?" And I said, "I know plenty songs, but I have a terrible, my voice is terrible." So he says, "Don't worry, sing." And I remember this was my first song that I sang. Gdy ruszył na wojenkę, miał 17 lat, a serce gorejące i lica miał jak kwiat. Chłopięcą jeszcze duszę i wątłe ramię miał, gdy w krwawej zawierusze szedł szukać mąki chwał. The song is about a soldier that went to war and how one little bullet may finish his life, and he was a hero. So he got on his grave, he got Virtuti Militari. When he died, they gave him a big honor, and the flags were bowing to him, and so on and so on. This was a Polish song I sang. And then I remember the second one was in Russian, and it was like a song, and you could say like a poem, also about a boy that goes to the army. Ja rodzin i sławny zaszczytnik i wojen, ja syn trudowого отца, клянусь и ручаю, что буду достоин высокого звания бойца. Ja krepok, ja молод, и в бой я за правду иду, за землю, за волю, за серп и за молот, за красную нашу звезду. This song says that he wants to go for his country. He's strong, he's young. He goes for the hammer and sickle and for the red flag. When we were hiding, and you could do it, when we weren't like out in the open and people cannot hear, they used to sing, or everybody sang different songs to push the time, to do something. You couldn't read, you didn't have a paper, you didn't have a book, you didn't hear music, so we did this. Otherwise you could get crazy. In the woods you could do it. Sing and say poems, and this is how the time was going by. They sang nice song. I remember Harry sang. This is a love song. Поцелуй меня, потом я тебя, потом ты меня, расцелуемся и начнем опять через минут 5. Поцелуй меня, kiss me, I kiss you, we'll kiss, and in 5 minutes we'll start again. And he had other songs. All those songs he sang to me, and this was really like a love songs. But I didn't think about it. I was just 14 years old. I didn't think about love. I think it was already the fall time. Everybody was sad, and they used to call them the dancers, the singers, he and Sal Krawiec and Morer, the three of them. There is a Polish saying, if you don't get happy sometimes, you have to hang yourself. Gdyby człowiek się nie pocieszył, by powiesił. It's, you know, so they used to sing. We all used to sing and tell stories. Eventually, Harry told me his story. He was born in Siemiatice, October 10, 1920. And he was the oldest boy in a family of 7 children. He had an older sister, her name was Sima, and she was already living in Israel from a long time. Siemiatice was a town 18 kilometers from my town, from Drohichin. It was a bigger town, 50% or more Jewish population, and they had factories, the Jewish people, they had stores, they supported very much the economy of the city. Harry's father, Shimon, was a businessman. He had some workers, they made shoes and boots, and he used to go on the market. Every Monday was the marketplace. You go outside and you sell, and they used to sell it. And he also owned a farmland, and a Polish man was working on the farmland. They had a cow, they had a horse. They were okay. They weren't poor. They weren't rich either. When the Russians came to Poland, occupied Poland, Harry's father was very sick. He went to a bigger city to the doctor in Białystok, but nothing helped, and he died. And Harry had to go and identify the body. They were laying bodies all over a big room, and he had to go and identify and took his father's body and outside and buried him. He didn't know even where it is. Harry had a sister, Haya. First of all, she was a beauty. She was the prettiest girl in town. She had a beautiful voice. His whole family had beautiful voices. And she was singing on the stage when the Russians were occupying Poland. She sang Kalinka, and everybody called her, "Oh, Kalinka is coming." And Harry had also a beautiful voice. He was singing with the Kenta. The Kenta had 10 young boys who were singing with him, and Harry was one of them. When the Russians came to Przemyatycz, they took the young boys and made them march like soldiers and sing the patriotic Russian songs. And since Harry had a very nice voice, so he was the solo who was singing, but he never knew the lyrics. So he instead saying, "Stalin will send us to war," he says, "when Stalin went to war." So everybody was laughing, and they didn't like it. When the Russians came to Poland, they organized like a China, it's called. It was a store that served for the young people tea and coffee and cake, so they all used to go. And one day they all went, and Harry sees at the entrance there's 2 Russians standing with ammunition in their hand. They said, "Who wants to go to the Russian army voluntarily?" And nobody picked up the hand. They didn't let them out. They used to make outside in speeches, "We're here to make you free from the bourgeois, from the rich people, and we came to free you, and who is for it? For us." And everybody picked a hand because they were afraid. In Przemyatycz was a statue of Lenin. The Russians made a statue of Lenin. So when the Germans came in 1941, the first thing they did, they gathered the Jews and told them that they have to take down the statue of Lenin and bury him on the Jewish cemetery the way the Jews bury their people, because Lenin is for the Jews. That's what I told them. They had to wear the talis, they had to put on tefillin, and they had to go near the river Bug to bury. This is where the cemetery was. So one person lost his balance probably because this was heavy and fell and died, drowned in the river. Harry told me that they had to go between 2 rows of Polish people, and they were standing there and beating them, helping the Germans, and humiliated them more and more. They did those terrible things, and those were neighbors and friends, some friends too. But this is how it was. When the Nazis took over from the Russians, they created a ghetto in Przemyatycz. The ghetto in Przemyatycz was very overcrowded, like the ghetto in Drohyczyn and all the other ghettos where the Germans were in control. In one room you could have a few families. It was much more strict than the ghetto in Drohyczyn, in my town. The ghetto was surrounded by 10 feet barbed wire, and was one gate that you could go out. Within the ghetto was a very strict curfew. You couldn't leave the house even within the ghetto for more than 2 hours. And you had to wear the yellow star in front and in back. It was much strict, much more than in my town. One of the German soldiers who was the head of the city of Przemiotyce, his name was Rudolf. This is what Harry told me. And he always used to walk with a German shepherd. And when he got angry at the Jew, he says, "Fress the Jude, eat the Jew." He was terrible. They all were afraid of him. One day the Germans took Harry to a forced labor camp, but Harry escaped. He couldn't go back living in the ghetto with his family because they could come again. So he went into the woods and he met there Russian POWs who escaped from the German camps. And they were like partisans, and they had connection with Moscow to do harm to the Germans. He was very good for them. He used to bring them medicine. He used to do a lot of things. And somehow they befriended him. They liked him. Sometimes he used to sneak in into the ghetto to see his families. And also when he had to buy for the POWs the medicine, he sneaked into the ghetto. It took a lot of courage to do it. Eventually, more Jews from Przemiotyce joined the Russian partisans and went on missions together. The Russian commander said to Harry, "Tell the Jews that if they have gold, whatever gold they have to give it up because we need it for the war." And Harry didn't want the Jews to put away the gold. So what he did, he said it in Hebrew. So Harry said, "The commander wants you to give all the gold law. Law in Hebrew is no." So he gave them a sign not to give the gold. The Russian couldn't recognize what he meant, but the Jewish people knew what it meant. And they hid the gold in the ground someplace. During the time that Harry was with the Russian partisans, there was a girl from Sokolov. She was a Jewish girl. Sokolov was on the other side of the river Bug from Drohichin. And in Sokolov, the Germans started to kill the Jews a little earlier than by us. So she ran away, and she came, like all the other Jews escaped, she came to the woods, and she met with the Russian partisans. She was a very pretty girl, and the leader of the partisans wanted to sleep with her, and she should be his girlfriend, and she didn't want to do it. So she came to Harry and wanted to ask him, "How can I get out of this mess?" And Harry told her, "Stay with this head of the partisan group, the Russian partisan group, because if you stay with him, at least he will protect you from the other partisans. You wouldn't be everybody's girlfriend. You just stay with him." It was very dangerous those times because there was going on a lot of this raping. The Russians were raping them. So this woman took Harry's advice, and she became the girlfriend of this Russian leader. And she gave Harry a scarf. I still have a scarf, a little shawl. She says, "Remember me, that I was here, and remember me." She was protected for a little while, but then he was killed, the head of the group. And I don't know really what happened next to her. One day, the Russian partisans had a fight with the Germans, and the commander, who liked Harry, was wounded and died. A new Russian came as a leader. He was a Ukrainian, and he hated the Jews. The Ukrainian ordered all the Jews in his unit to be killed. Somebody who knew Harry found out about it, and he told him in a secret, he said, Harry, run away, or tomorrow they'll kill all the Jews. And Harry came to his friend Kalman from Shemyatic and said to him, you take half the Jews and I have the Jews, and we'll run away. So Kalman said, no, I'm not going to take anybody. I couldn't save my parents. I couldn't save other Jews. I just want to protect myself. And he went like to the left side, and Harry went with some Jews to the right side. Harry survived with the Jews, but Kalman was killed. After Harry ran away from the Russian partisans who were trying to kill the rest of the Jews, he went to Mr. Milkovsky, who was friendly with his father. He did good things for this young Milkovsky. If he needed a cow, they gave him the cow, and he paid later. His father had a lot of IOUs, you know, not money. And he liked them, the family. He came to this young Milkovsky, and when they saw him, he had a beard, and she shaved him, she gave him a place to bathe, and took off all the clothes and put it in the oven, because it was full of lice. And she gave him everything. And he, Mr. Milkovsky, young Milkovsky, he gave him a gun that was cut off. It's called a obrezak. It was small, you know, so they can put it like in the, that you don't see that they have a gun. And when he gave him the gun, he told him, if you have to defend your own life, okay, shoot. But if you take an innocent life, God will punish you for this. And he never did. He never took somebody who didn't do something bad or danger against the partisans. Harry wrote a note and gave it to a Polish man to deliver it to his friend Sal Krawiec, who was still living in the ghetto. In the note, Harry said to Sal, escape the ghetto and come to a Polish man where I am staying. And this is how they got together. Even before the war, in the peaceful time, he was always in Harry's house because his father was killed. He didn't have a father. They were like not separated, and he depended on Harry. Harry was more outgoing. Harry had a girlfriend in Shemyatic. Sal didn't. Sal was a quiet boy, but he always took Sal with him. So Sal Krawiec escaped from the ghetto and went to the place where Harry was hiding. Later on, another friend from Shemyatic, Schule Morer, joined them. The three of them got together and created a Jewish partisan group. They were joined by more Jews, and the numbers started to grow. During the war, Harry and Sal were always together. And Sal used to rely on Harry all the time. Without him, I don't know if he would survive. Harry learned a lot of things from the Russian partisans. He learned how to hide, how to shoot, how to load the gun. They didn't know. They were 18 and 19-year-old boys. They didn't know anything about this. And he learned partisan strategy, how to do it. When you have to take revenge of somebody, you have to go around the house, you don't have to go to the front door, all those things. Harry always protected Sal because he knew places where you can hide. He knew more Polish people where they would hide you, and he had a gun. He got the first gun. With the first gun, what Harry got from Mr. Milkovsky, he got the other guns. How did they do it? They came into a village, went into a house, and told them to stand against the wall. They have sticks, and put the sticks in their bags, and said, if you have a gun, just give us a gun or we'll shoot you. So this Polish man, who they put the stick against him just to make believe it's a gun, he gave them another 2 guns, and this how they did till they accumulated for everybody a gun just by fooling them. They had to learn how to clean it, how to take it apart. It wasn't easy. It was Harry, 1, 2, 3, about 5 people, 6 people. This was from the beginning. When the Drohichin ghetto was liquidated, they didn't send them right away to Treblinka. All the people from around Shemiatich or Drohichin used to be sent to Shemiatich ghetto because they had a railroad station and it was easy to transport the Jews. And after a while, I think they stayed there for 2 weeks, somebody told me. And after the 2 weeks, they sent everybody to Treblinka. It was a death camp. A lot of Harry's family was sent to Treblinka and was killed there. But his mother and the 2 younger children, 6 and 8 years old, they escaped from the ghetto through the wires. They ran out. While they escaped, since the Germans were surrounding the ghetto, they were shooting. They shot Harry's mother. They wounded her in the leg. But she was able to make it to a village and to a man that was very friendly with her family. And he let her stay for a little bit. And Harry found out where she is. So he came there. And when the man said he doesn't want to keep her anymore, Harry took her to another place. But over there too, they didn't want it. It was a woman wounded with 2 children. So he took her someplace else. His mother saw that this wouldn't be good. You'll take me from place to place, we'll all get killed. So she said, take me back to the first guy. We'll stay there. And Harry brought his mother and the 2 sisters back to the friend of the family and asked him, please protect them. And he promised, and Harry trusted him. Harry went back to the partisan group, and when he came back to the same Polish man to check on his mother and the sisters, nobody was there. And the man that he trusted, his family, confessed. He said he took them to the Germans to be killed. The man said, here is the ring that your mother gave me. Here is her marriage band. And he gave Harry his mother's marriage band and begged him, don't shoot me. I did wrong, but don't touch me. But Harry knew that he has to do revenge because he was dreaming at night that his mother says, I can't rest in peace if you don't take revenge for the 2 little kids. And Harry said to him, how come you didn't save the lives from my sisters and my mother? He had no answer for this. So the revenge was taken. We still have the ring, and everybody in the family gets married with it. My 2 daughters, Charlotte and Debbie, were married with this ring. My grandchildren, Jonathan and Elise, were married with it. My nieces and nephews in Israel were married with it. And I hope in the future my 2 other grandchildren, Benji and Harry, will marry with it. What happened to Harry's family is not unusual, because the Polish people used to turn in the Jews to the Germans, and the Germans killed them. And sometimes they did themselves the dirty job. Harry realized that in order to protect the Jews, Harry had to make the Polish people afraid of the partisans. So that's why Harry's group started to take revenge and told them, for every Jew you killed, you'll be killed. In the village of Malinov was a man who took care of the forest, and he knew everything what was going on there. And because it was a forest, the Jews tried to hide there from the Germans. because it was safer to stay there. But he used to give out the Jews, turn in to the Germans a lot of Jews. Harry's group said, we have to take revenge or he'll do it again and again. And one evening they got together, all of them, and they went there to Malinov. It wasn't far from Shemyatyche. And when they went there, an old lady came out of another house and said, over there is the house, go, kill him, he deserves to be killed. They walked over. When he saw the partisans coming over to his house, he had a gun, a revolver. So he grabbed the revolver. He was trying to kill one of the partisans, but they shot him before he could do anything. The Jewish partisan group also did some against the Germans. The Germans made it that the Poles have to give so much, 2 cows, contingent it was called, so much and so much flour for bread and other things. So the Jews used to come before and take it away so the Germans wouldn't have. And the rails to a railroad, they used to damage. So they did some, but mostly they did to help the Jews. When Harry found out there are some Jews hiding in a farmer's house, and he found out that the Germans are going to search there tomorrow. So he went there at night and he warned them, please get out, because you'll be dead if they come. They left this place, they went to another place. Harry saved a lot of people's lives. And if he would not get the guns and would not take revenge for killing Jews, none of us would survive. A woman from Harry's town that was sent to Germany as a Polish girl to take care of the German children, and she did other chores in the houses, clean the houses. They didn't know she's Jewish. They thought she's Polish. But the other Polish people who were sent there too knew that she's Jewish, and they threatened her one day. They said, we're going to tell the Germans that you are Jewish. So she says, you better don't do it, because your parents and your family would not be safe. I'll write a letter to Harry. He's the leader of the partisan group, and they'll give them plenty trouble. So better don't dare do it. And they didn't do it. Even as far as Germany, the Poles were afraid of the partisans. Harry and his partisans once went near the city of Shemyatyche, which was very dangerous because there is the gendarmerie there is Germans there, and he went there to take revenge for the Jews that this person killed. After they took revenge on this man, Harry's group got such a reputation that the Germans put an article in the newspaper saying, don't kill the Jew if he comes to you. Don't kill him yourself. Bring them to us. We're going to do the job. We're going to kill them. The Germans used to go in the daytime to hunt the Jews, but at night they didn't go. We were free to do whatever we wanted. But later on it was dangerous at night for us because there was an Armia Krajowa, the army of the land, AK, and they knew where more or less where Jews could hide because they were from the same villages that the Jews were hiding. The Polish AK could go in the daytime and in the night. And this was impossible to hide from them. And they killed a lot of Jews during the war and after the liberation. Not all the Poles were bad. Some were real good and helped the Jews. One day Harry and Sal Krawiec went into a Polishman who was really good with the partisan, was helping them. But the AK showed up there and wanted to shoot both of them, Harry and Sal. However, the Polishman and his sons protected them. They pointed the rifles at the AK and forced them to leave. After saving Harry and Sal, the Polishman gave them a rifle and they escaped into the woods. The partisans during the time collected a lot of weapons. We had a 72 bullet machine gun with a round magazine that shoots automatic. We had 2 fingers which shoots 12 automatic bullets. We had revolvers, we had grenades, and plenty other ammunitions. The partisan taught me how to clean the guns. It wasn't an easy job because I was worried. And once I did something foolish. One bullet went into the chamber, and I was afraid to tell them because I wanted to have this job. But later on said, I better tell them. And Harry said, okay, we'll correct it. At its largest, there was about 25-30 Jewish partisans, but they wanted to make it look that it's more. Rumors spread in the villages that it was a whole battalion of Jewish partisans, not just a few. If it was a fire someplace in a village, far away even, but you can see, the Polish people said, oh, the group of partisans, Jewish partisans, are coming, although they had nothing, absolutely nothing to do with it. During the wartime, when we were hiding, Harry used to come often to see me. He knew where we are. I could feel it, that he's very much interested in me. He likes me. I didn't know too much about love, so I asked people, what do you feel when you love somebody, when you like somebody? So they told me, when he comes and you're very happy about it, you love him. So I knew, because I wanted him to come. When Harry came to see me, he had a very good voice, and he used to sing the love songs to me. And he always brought me something, a present, a pair of shoes, a pair of stockings, a jacket. This was a very big thing to get, because it was cold, and it was for a few years you couldn't buy anything. You had to get it. This is how I knew that I liked him too. And later on he developed into love, and I wanted to marry him. I had a place, a secure place, that they had to keep me. He used to go and do whatever they had to do. But he came, sometimes he could come, pass by, like stay a day or two in the woods. Then they went someplace else. They had to do things. I don't know really everything what they had to do. But I didn't go on any, where there was shooting involved or anything, because it was getting closer already to liberation. So we knew, because the Polish people knew, without the paper, they knew. They put the ear to the ground and they listen, and they think they hear shooting close. And they showed us how to tell time. You make a round circle, you put a stick, and you see where the shadow is, on 12, on 1. This how nobody had a watch. Nobody knew what time of the day it is. We didn't know anything. I didn't know what day it is. We're just pushing days, pushing to go, maybe get better. And then finally, I was liberated by the Russians. It was the luckiest day of my life, but this wasn't the end of my problems. There started new trouble for us Jews.